At some point, you will be asked to restripe or do a brand new parking lot layout in a parking garage on concrete. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the tips and tricks that I've learned along the way and how you can make your parking garage project a success. What's happening, guys? Thank you so much for listening and or watching today, and shout out to the sponsor of our mini stripes, Mighty Line Tape. If you haven't got your free sample kit, go to mightylinetape.com/stripe it, and they will hook you up. Thanks to them. So sooner or later, you will probably do a parking garage. Fun fact, here in Canada, what do we call them, Matt? Parkades. Yeah, they don't call them that in the States. So concrete parking garages and parkades are actually a pretty common thing to stripe. But because they're often on concrete and they're inside, there's a couple of things you need to approach a little bit differently, and I'll go through a few of them. I've got 3 or 4 of them in this video I'd like to share with you. So number one is the type of paint to use. We always use solvent-borne paint where we are. I would not recommend doing parking garages with waterborne paint. The traffic paint is hard enough to stick on concrete. You really want something that's going to dry a little bit quicker. I've had good success with solvent-borne paint. I would recommend you give that a go. You probably don't have to, and sometimes on a new project, the type of paint you have to use might even be specified for you. One other option to consider is chlorinated rubber paint. Now, we have a really hard time getting it where we are, so it's a product we never use. But Sherwin-Williams apparently has a really nice chlorinated rubber, and it's supposed to work a little bit nicer on concrete parking garages than normal traffic paint. So do some research on that. I wish I had experience with it, but it's not something that we use. So that's the first thing I would say is paint. Second thing, really make sure that your pressure on your machine is dialed in properly. Like paint, when you stripe on asphalt, the asphalt tends to soak it up a little bit. It's porous. Concrete just does not do that very well. It does not soak up paint at all. And if you stripe at really high pressure like you normally would, maybe 2400 PSI, what we find is a lot of times the paint will splatter off the concrete because it's just coming in too hot and heavy. So turn that pressure down. I like to shoot the parking garages or parkades, usually at 1300, which is really low, but I find it gives a better result. So just mess around with it. Maybe there's an area where you could do some test shots on some scrap concrete that's laying around just to kind of see how it would work. But generally pressure down is the way to go. Third thing, if you are striping a parking garage or a parkade with a line driver, so those are the fancy things that you sit on. A lot of people don't know this, but on the back end of the line driver, on the hydraulics, there's this little dial. Sorry, not a dial. It's a rod that you adjust that regulates the flow of hydraulics. Turn that thing down, and what that'll do is it'll allow you to be a little. The gas pedal will be a little less sensitive. So instead of firing around the parking garage, you can feather it a little nicer. You have to be really careful in parking garages. Drive a little slower. That tip should really help you. And the last thing I would say is when you're estimating parking garages. Be careful if the parking garage that you're estimating has 5, 6, 8, 10 layers high. One thing that a lot of people forget about is you can park on the ground level, but if you have to stripe on the 10th floor, you generally can't bring your truck and your trailer up there. So that is a long time to drive or push a machine all the way up there. So make sure you account for enough time. Hopefully you have a line driver so you don't have to walk a machine up that far. I have seen some cool guys make a tow behind trailer behind their line driver just to carry paint up the parking decks. So just make sure from a time perspective that you're allowing enough time to get to the top of those things. Other than that, they're not too hard. We have a good time with them. We don't have a ton of them here where we are, but when we do them, we enjoy doing them. It's a great thing to do. Sometimes you can even do them in winter. Our guys just did one in January here when it was really cold. So hopefully those tips help you. If you have any questions about parking garages or parkades, Canada, reach out to us. Keep your stripes hot.